Here with the GMO labeling movement update. Special thanks to Nicole Cormier at Delicious Living Nutrition for asking me to shoot a little video for her to share with others on what's going on in the GMO labeling movement. My name is Martin Dagoberto. I'm the campaign coordinator with Massachusetts Right to Know GMOs. I'm also a co-founder of Citizens for GMO Labeling, which is a national 501c4 established to support grassroots GMO labeling initiatives across the country. It's definitely an exciting time for the food democracy and food transparency movements across the state and across the country. People are rising up to declare their right to know what they're eating. And of course, in June of 2013, both Connecticut and Maine passed mandatory GMO labeling laws contingent upon neighboring states passing similar legislation before they take effect. But last year, Vermont passed first in the nation no strings attached GMO labeling, set to go into effect July 1st, 2016. Now, of course, they're being challenged in court by the Grocery Manufacturers Association, big chemical and big food companies. We'll see how that goes there. But there's an undeniable amount of grassroots momentum for common sense transparency in food labeling. More than half of the states have introduced such legislation. And here in New England, we're in quite a hot spot. I've already mentioned Connecticut, Maine, and Vermont. Just to our south in Rhode Island, their Senate bill has a majority of co-sponsors, and they have a hearing coming up this week. Over in New York, their GMO labeling bill has made it out of the first committee and is about to be heard in its second committee. And Maine actually has just introduced an effort to strip their trigger clause to make their GMO labeling bill go into effect sooner rather than later. And here in Massachusetts, our statewide network of safe food and consumer advocates have really turned up the heat and gotten really loud about their calls for GMO labeling, and those calls have been heard inside the State House. Our mandatory GMO labeling bill was introduced at the beginning of the year with 154 out of 200 state legislators on board as co-sponsors. That's an undeniable amount of momentum, and in fact, is the most popular bill currently being considered in the State House. It's more than 75% of the legislature. Now, Massachusetts has a 2-year legislative session, so we have until the end of July 2016 to get it through the whole process. The next step will be a committee hearing. The bill was introduced to the Joint Committee on Environment, Natural Resources, and Agriculture, and we have 14 out of 17 members of that committee as co-sponsors, so we're feeling pretty good about it. There's a good amount of momentum, but we still need to keep the pressure up, so we're asking our supporters across the state to continue to sign and share the petitions found on our website, marightoknow.org, to contact your state legislators. If they're one of the If they're one of the 154 co-sponsors, they deserve a big thank you and a reminder of how important this is for their constituents. If your legislator is one of the few that didn't sign on, they could certainly use a reminder. Maybe they just missed it. There's over 5,000 to 7,000 bills introduced each year. So we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and ask them to support it when it does come to the floor for a vote. We've been building our coalition for the last couple of years. Massachusetts Right to Know GMOs is working in coalition with the Northeast Organic Farming Association, MassPerg, and MoveOn.org. And we've connected with over 330 businesses, local farms, organizations, and community groups in support of mandatory labeling in Massachusetts. And this widespread network of people have helped to generate over 40,000 comments and signatures and phone calls and emails to legislators, letting them know that the people want GMO labeling. And we got to keep that up, and we hope that you'll visit marightoknow.org and also on Facebook / Mass Right to Know GMOs, also on Twitter, labeled GMOs MA, and get active. Look through our resources on our website. Share what you find with others, and share our action alerts online and social media so that we can continue to keep the pressure up. Now, we've been so successful at the state level, again, more than half of the states are actively considering GMO labeling, that the industry is seeing where things are going. They know it's only a matter of time before we pass mandatory GMO labeling in a critical number of states. Our whole idea is to move towards a federal GMO labeling standard. It's just not going to happen at the federal level until the states set that standard for meaningful labeling and we have a critical mass of support. Well, like I said, the industry sees where things are going, and now they're making moves to cut us off at the federal level by passing what we're calling the Dark Act, denying Americans' right to know. And this is a piece of legislation written by the industry and introduced by Representative Mike Pompeo from Kansas. And now he's someone with close ties to the Koch brothers. That name might ring a bell. And this piece of legislation would actually make it illegal to require labeling for genetically engineered ingredients. It would set the standard for voluntary labeling, which of course is ridiculous because, I mean, we've been operating on voluntary labeling for the last 20 years, and I don't know of any that have voluntarily labeled their GMOs except for the first round of new and improved flavor saver tomatoes, which are no longer on the market. But we've had these voluntary standards for a long time, and the industry hasn't given that information. This one line of factual information that's important to an increasing number of people, they don't want to provide it. So we are working to have people across the country contact their members of Congress to let them know that Mike Pompeo's Dark Act is not the GMO labeling bill that we're looking for. That's H.R. 1599, I believe. And if you go to our website, marightoknow.org/stopdark, you'll see all about it and see what's happening with that. Couple other news items that I wanted to bring up. You might have seen the World Health Organization a couple weeks ago determined that glyphosate, the most widely used GMO-related herbicide, has been classified as a probable human carcinogen. This is the herbicide that's sprayed on an increasing acreage of crops. As you have heard, GMOs or the broad majority of them, are engineered to withstand increasing applications of these herbicides. Well, it turns out that one of the premier health organizations in the world has determined that that herbicide is a probable human carcinogen. So this is big news in the GMO labeling movement, and we've even heard our own representative Jim McGovern in a congressional hearing last week say, in reference to this study, saying, shouldn't people have a right to know about this and make these informed choices about whether or not they want to consume these products and support these types of agriculture? Important questions that the industry doesn't want people asking. In a related science update, another study came out that shows that Roundup causes antibiotic resistance in bacteria. A big problem with all the diseases that are becoming resistant to antibiotics. Just one more peg in the list of reasons why we have concerns about this chemical-intensive model of agriculture. And one more item I wanted to share with you, a new book that just came out by Stephen Drucker with a foreword by Jane Goodall called Altered Genes, Twisted Truth, How the Venture to Genetically Engineer Our Food Has Subverted Science, Corrupted Government, and Systematically Deceived the Public. It exposes how the U.S. Food and Drug Administration disregarded the warnings of its own scientists in order to foster the biotech's agenda. There were numerous internal memos that were released as a result of a lawsuit that Mr. Drucker had pursued, and this book is just a compelling narrative examining how the revolving doors between government and industry, and how these politically engineered loopholes have allowed GMOs to infiltrate our food supply without people knowing about it. So I highly recommend that book. I actually haven't gotten to read it myself. It's coming in the mail, and I look forward to checking that out. Once again, that's Altered Genes, Twisted Truth by Stephen Drucker. And for other updates, please do visit marightoknow.org and follow us on Facebook for new content every day, Mass Right to Know GMOs. Until next time, I'm Marty with Mass Right to Know. Thanks so much, and let's label GMOs.